I'd now like to call this special meeting of the Arlington City Council to order. First item of business, I'll call upon Mr. Alex Buskin, our City Secretary, to go over speaker guidelines and general decorum.
Thank you, Mayor. We ask that the citizens and other visitors in attendance assist in preserving the order and decorum of this meeting. Any person making personal, profane, slanderous, or threatening remarks, or who becomes disruptive while addressing the mayor and the city council, or while attending the city council meeting, may be removed from the council chambers. For speakers tonight, when your name is called, please come to the microphone at the podium and state your name and address for the record. During public hearings for zoning cases, the applicant will be asked to speak first and will be given 5 minutes to make a presentation. Speakers in support or opposition of the item will be given 3 minutes each to make their statements. The applicant will then be given 3 minutes for any rebuttal. For all other items on the agenda and during citizen participation, speakers will be given 3 minutes to speak. If multiple speakers plan to provide the same or similar public testimony, those speakers may, if they so desire, designate one or more individuals to provide public testimony on behalf of the group. A bell will signal the end of each speaker's time. In consideration of other speakers, please conclude your comments promptly when you hear the bell. We ask that you address your comments to the mayor and council.
Thank you, Mr. Buskin. To our citizens, we have lost our first citizen to the coronavirus, and I want to extend my thoughts and deepest prayers to the James family here in Arlington, and I ask all of our residents to do the same, and please keep them in your hearts. I also want to thank Governor Abbott, who came to town today here to help and lend assistance here as we work with our citizens that are at the Masonic Retirement Home. And he has come with expertise and also resources. Also, I'm very grateful to our Emergency Operations Center and our first responders, led by our Fire Chief, Don Krausen. Also, thank you to Dr. Simmons, who's on the front lines, who is working on this. We're in a fight right now, and there's no doubt about it, and we know we all are concerned. But I can promise you that Arlington will come out of this stronger than ever. I believe in this community's kindness and can-do spirit, and we need it more now. We need it now more than ever. We've proven our resiliency time and time again, and it's going to take each and every one of us to win this fight. Tonight, we are here in the City Council to discuss stronger restrictions in our community. As you've seen, we met yesterday. We're meeting today, we may be meeting tomorrow. We're going to meet as much as we need to be able to continue to respond to this fluid situation. I want to thank our City Council for their dedication here and putting in their time. It is, of course, dominating all of our lives right now. And I also want to thank our businesses for their cooperation. We've added a whole list of closings on the website and also outlined some of the procedural changes in closing of some of our facilities. These are all tough decisions, but it's necessary to make sure that we put public health and safety first. And having said that, most of our city services continue to remain unaffected, including our emergency response, garbage and recycling, water utilities, and many more. And then speaking of our first responders, let's also keep them and the employees in our medical community in our thoughts and prayers as well, because they are working on the front lines and helping us to get through this and minimize the spread of the virus. You know, the Arlington Fire Department has published policy guidance to medical responders in the field, and our 911 dispatchers are pre-screening callers to identify potential emerging infectious disease patients. While we know the measures that we're talking about will certainly create some hardships for some of our individual businesses, I want to echo the words of our Fire Chief, Don Krausen, that we are implementing this plan with the public's health at the top of mind. I also want to reassure you that our Office of Emergency Management and our local Public Health Authority are both working night and day and have been now there for many weeks. And we're also continuing constantly to consult with Tarrant County Public Health and then also local, state, and federal medical experts each day to make sure that we're making smart decisions that benefit our entire community and prevent the exposure of COVID-19 to vulnerable populations. Now, there's a lot of misinformation out there too, and please don't turn to Facebook for your answers. Make sure that you're going to reputable sources. And that makes it all the more important to rely on expert advice from medical professionals during this pandemic. Our Office of Communications is posting regular updates to our coronavirus website at arlingtontx.gov/coronavirus. That's arlingtontx.gov/coronavirus. This site offers news articles, prevention tips, information about what Arlington and Tarrant County are doing to stay up to date, the latest news from our CDC, which is so important, and then many other items that will help our citizens. I'm hearing from many of our citizens really hungry to read more and to know more, so we'll continue, and it's happening almost hourly now, of updating the website as we go along. And finally, I want to ask one more time for everyone in Arlington to come together. Our churches have announced a citywide call to prayer online tonight at 6 p.m. And I want to say thank you to everyone in our faith-based community, no matter your denomination, because we've heard from our mosque and our synagogues. They're all working to keep the faith during these difficult times. Our seniors and people with chronic medical conditions are most at risk when it comes to COVID-19. Let's take care of our neighbors. Something we can do that's within our control is calling up our loved ones and talk to people who are more vulnerable to this virus and who might feel more isolated. Do it on the phone or Skype, but listen to their concerns and be there for them. Pray with them and let them know they're not alone. And we're seeing so many of our people volunteering and making trips and getting groceries, therefore our people at risk or running errands for them, and it's most appreciated because we're going to need to continue to do this. And of course, one of the things that I'm most proud of as your mayor is how kind and generous our citizens are. I see it every day. You do too. And I also see how strong we can be. We all need to stick together and answer the call. We're going to get through this. I'm very grateful for the volunteer efforts of our community and how well people are cooperating. And we want to thank you for everything you're doing to keep our community safe. You know, one thing that's very comforting there is that our fire department has managed infectious diseases over the years as part of their responsibility to the community. And we still have those same leaders here. And they've done it with other major outbreaks. They're prepared and up to the task. While there's still a lot we don't know about coronavirus, our first responders have been through these situations before. Now, I plead also with our residents to practice smart hygiene habits in the weeks and months ahead. I mentioned that we're in a fight. We're in a fight against an unseen enemy here in this virus. So what do we do to fight? Well, we have to fight against old habits. We've got to stop handshakes. We've got to stop touching our faces there with unwashed hands. We've got to stay at home if you're sick. Don't fight through it. Stay at home if you're sick. You've got to also avoid touching other people and actually infecting others. And if you're experiencing symptoms, call Tarrant County's coronavirus hotline at 817-248-6299. That's Tarrant County's coronavirus hotline at 817-248-6299. Let's fight to win in following our medical professionals' guidelines about our own health will only help us not only to not get the virus ourselves, but to keep from spreading it there as we move forward. Tonight, we're going to move into, again, moving our ordinances along. And again, we anticipate we probably are going to need to do it tomorrow or Monday there also as we move forward. We're continuing to monitor what is going on. We also are continuing to get great input from our county and state and federal medical professionals, which that is an awesome thing there for us to be able to draw from all of the expertise and the American know-how, which has been so valuable in the past. So with that, I'm going to turn to our city attorney, Ms. Tara Solis, here to talk about our current emergency ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In front of you at your places this afternoon is a ordinance amending the ordinance that you enacted last night. It amends just a couple of sections in the ordinance from last night. One of the first ones is the amendment of Section 6. Last night you gave the city manager some limited authority to execute contracts up to $200,000. This current language would remove that dollar amount so that he can transact routine business during the emergency, as well as any emergency procurements that he might need to make. The next amendment amends Section 9 of the ordinance. And in this section, these changes are consistent with the changes that are being taken by Tarrant County and Fort Worth in their communities. This ordinance would limit the size of gatherings to 50 people and mandates the cancellation of all such gatherings of more than 50 people. It does not prohibit gatherings in multiple separate enclosed spaces in a single building, such as floors of a multi-level office building, a residential building, or hotel, so long as 50 people are not present in any single space at the same time. In addition, the next section talks about some specific uses which are not considered gatherings and therefore not subject to the 50 people limit. The first use relates to restaurants, sidewalk cafes, microbreweries, microdistilleries, and wineries. And these facilities may only provide takeout, delivery, drive-in, or drive-through services. The second set of uses are uses which will be closed, and that includes bars, banquet halls, bingo parlors, bowling alleys, nightclubs, private clubs, lounges, and fraternal organizations, indoor recreation, skating rinks, teen clubs, and indoor theaters. The third set of uses limits the occupancy of certain locations to 50% occupancy as set forth on the business's certificate of occupancy. It limits it to 50% or 125 individuals, whichever is less. And those particular uses are event centers, hotel meeting spaces and ballrooms, retail sales and service, convenience stores, plazas, places of worship, and malls. The 50% occupancy would not apply to any use that is not listed here, such as office buildings, government buildings, critical infrastructure such as airport and transit facilities, residential buildings, grocery stores, manufacturing locations, nonprofit service providers, airports, homeless and emergency shelters, daycares, and medical facilities. These new provisions are being added to the ordinance in place of those sections 6 and 9 from last night's ordinance. The rest of the ordinance from last night stays in full force and effect. These new provisions take effect as of 12:01 a.m. Thursday, March the 19th. This ordinance is on for first and final reading, so it will take unanimous vote of those of you here and voting tonight. I'd be happy to answer any questions, Mr. Mayor.
Any questions for Ms. Solis? Okay, seeing none, I'll then turn, Mr. Buskin, do we have any speakers on this item?
No, sir, we do not.
Okay. With that, then I'll call for any discussion or a motion. Okay, Dr. Nunez.
I'd like to take this opportunity as a physician as well as a member of City Council and as a member of this community that I've lived in since 1971. Things are going to change every single day. What you see here on the ordinance that we just read is probably going to be different tomorrow. I've gotten lots of emails from various citizens upset because we're not moving fast enough. Well, we're moving as fast as we can, and we're trying really hard, and I want the citizens of Arlington to know that. The other thing that's important is not more than 45 to 50 minutes ago, I got a phone call from a pastor. He called here, and he is the pastor of a Spanish-speaking church here in Arlington, and he wanted to know if he could have a reunion at his church. And he said tonight and tomorrow they're going to be, he said, 200 people, and I had heard that I might have a problem. So I told him exactly what was going on as per the ordinance as of yesterday, and I told him to stay tuned because it was probably going to change. What really surprised me was he did not understand the seriousness of COVID-19. I had to speak with this gentleman in his native language, Spanish, because he simply didn't know. And that sort of shocked me. And the reason that I'm bringing this up is it's important for all of us that we reach out to those of us in this immensely diverse community, that we let those who do not speak English know how serious this is. And through our website, which is multilingual, through our emails, if you know someone who is unaware exactly of what's going on, we need to talk to each other, we need to be together, we need to communicate, and above all, we don't need to be afraid. We need to, the other thing I want to do is I want to take this opportunity. I told the mayor earlier in private, and I'm going to tell him here in public. Thank you for your leadership. You have done a yeoman's job. The fact that you sometimes have a hard time sleeping at night because you're so worried about us, thank you, and may God bless you.
Thank you, Dr. Nunez. Yes, Dr. Odom Wesley.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I echo Dr. Nunez's compliments as well for the leadership. I did have one question, and one thing I wanted us to mention for our citizens is how will this be enforced, and mention the penalties that are associated with it.
Ms. Elise?
The ordinance does have criminal penalties along with it, so that if people were not complying, there is that ability. I think it is probably unlikely that we're going to be going out and arresting a bunch of people. I think the city will do what they normally do and educate people and talk to people about what the new ordinance provisions are. And I fully expect that code and fire and police will do that and educate our citizenry and let them know. And then, as usual, usually the citizens of Arlington are very good about compliance. And so that's how I expect that will happen. The penalty in here is up to $500 per violation.
Just to add to that, it is amazing, and in particular our restaurateurs, how cooperative they have been and how they have been working. They are still going to be a very important part of our food chain because they're going to be able to deliver, to have drive-through or curbside service. And I would encourage our citizens to use that, and even some of our upscale restaurants are getting into the game there as far as doing that. I think all of our restaurants now will be focused on that, and it's important for us to know that that is an alternative food source, but also an opportunity for us to help our small businesses here in our community there as we move forward. And frankly, we had a great example of that last night because after council meeting, we saw one of our restaurants that doesn't have a drive-through create one. And, basically they're able to go right to the curb with a covered area to where they are actually able to give you the food and have them come through there with it. And that was very inspirational to see that, but it also was inspirational to see our citizens respond to that, because this isn't a step that we wanted to do. this is a step that we had to do in putting our citizens' health at the top. Any other comments or anything? All right, with that, we have a motion for approval from Councilmember Farrar Myers, a second from Councilmember Sutton. Please cast your votes. We've been informed too that the governor is going to be coming forward with further mandates and so forth tomorrow in a press conference. We are going to be working and responding there too. And as I mentioned, we are really working together with our neighboring communities. I've been in touch with most all of the mayors here, and also our county personnel are talking right now too. They're with it. Just as we said that our emergency operations personnel are very well versed in infectious diseases, we don't know all about the coronavirus. So consequently, we don't know what is going to happen for sure in that. But know that we do have great medical professionals working on this in the middle of it. They're with it. And again, we need to be working on the things that we can control. And so the things that each of us as individuals can do is to work on our hygiene, to be smart, and try to keep from being exposed to numbers of people. If you can do it over the phone or through a teleconference, do that. And the same way with our businesses, those that can work from home or limit the meetings and so forth there, that's huge. And I know too our businesses are working to be very creative so we can continue to move forward. But again, our number one concern is taking care of our citizens' health. So thank you all for tuning in on the television. Thank you also for being here, the ones of you who are here. And then I also want to thank our city manager, Trey Yelverton, and our staff here at the city for putting in much overtime in trying to work through and come up with the best solutions here too as we move forward. Mr. Yelverton, do you have anything to add before we adjourn? Well, thank you all very much, and seeing no other business now, we'll adjourn, but know that we probably will be having more meetings, and we're constantly reviewing what is happening. Thank you very much. This meeting stands adjourned.